What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to look at the FansToys Lupus, their version of a masterpiece Weirdwolf. So this is actually an older figure. This came out in 2016. I've had a hard time getting hold of this. Obviously this is a relatively expensive figure, also hard to find, not a lot of them out there. So I did finally get a good deal. This was purchased from Dr. Diecast. He's actually a subscriber of this channel, so I really appreciate actually all of those headmasters I'm going to be taking a look at soon on my channel. So appreciate him being able to hook me up here with finally a version of Lupus. So let's take a look up on the details here. It really does look nice. You got some nice satin paint on the face there, metallic red for the eyes, metallic for the neck there. You got silver paint there on the chest, silver paint here on the abdomen. All of this is green paint, and then the yellow paint for the other parts. This part is die cast, so it looks a little bit different in terms of the shade, but that's all this metallic yellow paint. Yeah, yellow paint here on the knee, silver and red on the shin, and then you got die cast feet here. Those are painted in that metallic goldish yellow. Here's the back, pretty clean. The head kind of hides away in the backpack there. Oh, pretty nice looking from both sides. We do have some nice accessories here. So he comes with this gun. It's painted again in that metallic fleck green paint. And that fits in just like any other FansToys, no different here. Tab that in and then close the hands around it. And that looks just fine. I like the detail on that gun. And you also get a sword here, which becomes his tail. Just painted silver. That looks nice. Some nice sculpted detail on that. And same thing, you just use the tab and close the fingers around it. And both of those are pretty nice looking weapons there. Also, you do also get this collector's card here, FT-18 2016, and here's his tech specs. One day I got to go through and read these bios, but there you go, nice collector's cards. I always like these FansToys cards. Now let's go over his articulation. Pretty good articulation, some limitations, but the head rotates on this neck joint. So a little bit different than headmasters we get from Hasbro. The actual neck joint does rotate. No up and down or side to side. The arm rotates on this ratchet joint all the way around. Out to the side, it's a little bit hindered, only gets up to there. Your rotation at the bicep, nice and tight joint. You have a double joint elbow, so there's a joint here and a joint here. So unfortunately you can't get past there. I'm not really sure why they designed it that way. It feels like they could have given it a little bit more. But it gets you basically slightly past 90 degrees. Even though there's a double joint. So a little strange there. You have a wrist swivel. The fingers are typical FansToys, pinned at the first joint and the second joint. And then you get a ball joint for the thumb and a single pin for that thumb as well. You have a rotation at the waist. You probably want to get this head out of the way a little bit. But nice tight waist joint there, rotation. No ab crunch on this guy. You get hip skirts here. They're all real tight, so just be careful with them. Goes up to there, back to there, out to the side on friction. Rotation at the thigh. You have a double jointed knee, so if you bend at the first joint and the second joint, you can get it past here. Just be careful, because if you hit this panel, you don't want to cause too much collision there. It does start to, take the leg apart if you go too hard there. And you do get ankle tilt. It's very slight, and you kind of have to hold it here in order to prevent this panel. And this is one of the things I don't like. This, as you manipulate this, it tends to move this panel here. So not the best, but you do get a slight ankle tilt. You also get a rocker this way. It goes back to there and up to there. And you can see it's his legs, his wolf legs that end up being the bottom of his feet. So the feet don't actually sit quite flat. It sits on this little panel here. So he's like a 1/4 inch off the ground. So even though it looks like he's standing, he's actually not standing on these die-cast feet. It's a little of a strange design. I've never seen anything like that for FansToys before. And there you have Lupus next to his compadres from the Headmasters. You got the FansToys Dracula, their version of Mindwipe, and FansToys Hydra, their version of Six Shot. And he looks really good. Of course, we're missing FansToys Chomp, which is their version of Skull Cruncher, supposedly coming out in December of this year. So that'll complete this set. But there you go for comparison. Now, before we move on to transformation, there is one last little gimmick. It's the little Headmaster gimmick where it kind of shows you their different stats there. So speed, strength, intelligence. Now, in the original toys, you would put the Headmaster in and it would light up those, not light up, but, you know, activate those little bars. On this one, it doesn't do that. It's just painted on. It's really nice, actually. It's painted in that purple color. That looks really good. But just wanted to show you that before we get transformed here. All right, now let's get Lupus transformed into his wolf mode. First, go ahead and take off the head. And since I have it loose, I can kind of show you up close. There's what it looks like. Go ahead and take his legs. This particular copy is very nice and tight. It just seems like it's like almost new. But go ahead and have his legs folded like that, because we are going to end up putting him in the cockpit. So just get his arms straightened up and just leave him like that for now and set him aside. All right, and you are going to need this sword, which is going to end with the tail, so keep that handy as well. So we'll start on the arms. Go ahead and lift up this panel here. You want to straighten out the arm so that you can get that panel upwards as far as you can. You're going to push this downwards. You can see the foot's going to come through. And inside there is that panel, so you're going to push that through. That's going to come out the other side. Rotate the hand so you have the flat part sitting upwards. And then close this back down. And then you can take this panel here, and that's going to close up on the back of there. This should end up with something like that. Obviously, that's going to be his leg. So go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Open up this panel. And sometimes this panel can be a little finicky, so you can use a spudger to get in there. And again, make sure you have the elbow straight. Give yourself a little more room. Rotate the hand. Flip this around. Make sure you flip out that panel. Rotate the hand inwards. Close that panel up, and then close that back panel and straighten out the paw. And so those are pretty much ready to go. We can come to the back here, take this head and rotate that down. It is going to just kind of plug into where the head goes. And that's pretty much good to go. Come to the top here, and you can see there's these little bars on the side. This is probably my least favorite part of this entire transformation, is you've got to get those lifted up, and it's a little bit challenging, but you can't push them all the way up. That's the easiest time I've had doing it. But you basically want to push both of those little sliders all the way up. Mine seems to stay pretty well, but I've heard lots of issues with that, and also with this cockpit, which we'll talk about later. All right, so that's pretty much the front part done. So let's come to the back here. Open up this panel here. Go ahead and take this, and this is going to flip around. It does, the tolerance right here is a little bit tight, so just make sure you clear that and rotate that all the way around. Come to the bottom here, fold out his leg or his foot, fold this panel inwards, and that's going to meet up to here. Fold this panel in, fold this panel downwards, and that's going to peg in. You can see there's a tab. Try not to put that in too tight. It really is hard to get out of there, and I don't want to stress it unnecessarily, so try to put that somewhat loosely in there. All right. Make sure you have the waist rotation joint straight or lined up. Then go ahead and bend at the knee here, at the first knee joint, sorry. Then bend at the second knee joint, and it should come down and meet up here. It looks like this tab is going to fit into this slot. It doesn't actually go there. It's a weird design, but it doesn't actually go into there, even though it looks like it should. At least I haven't found a way for that to meet up and kind of go in there. And there's not enough tolerance or clearance for it to reach. So maybe that was a boarded design. But now we'll go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Open up this panel. We'll do this one a little bit faster. Rotate this. Make sure you clear the top there. Come to this foot here. Fold this down. Fold this panel inwards. So it meets up there. Fold that all the way around. Come to the back here. Put this panel in. Fold this one down and tab it in loosely if you can. Go ahead and rotate at the first joint and then at the second joint and get that fit in there. And don't squeeze this together just yet because we have to do something with the tail first. Come to the back here, fold these down. Those are the kneecaps. And just get this leg situated properly. Now we can come and get the tail. And that's going to fit right in here. You can see there's a little groove there for the tail. Make sure you have it so that it's pointing upwards like this. And just get it pegged in there. And then you can squeeze this together. Come to the bottom here. And you can actually store this as well. You can see there's a little slot right here. And that's going to fit in right down here between here. It's a little bit of a weird location, but it does store the weapon. So now you can give this a squeeze. And that should all peg together. Make sure his arms are all situated. Yeah, and you can see I accidentally moved this down. So push that up and clean everything up. There is Lupus all transformed up into his wolf mode. Pretty nice looking head. The arms look really good. The back section here is not so great. It's kind of bulky and weird looking. You know, just a little too wide. But overall, I do like the wolf mode. I think it looks really nice. And also looks like the cartoon. We'll put the G1 cartoon there so you can take a look. But yeah, I do like it, especially from the front. The back is not so great though. Let's be honest, this is just weird looking and silly, so I'm just going to take it out because I think it looks dumb. But you can have that storage if you want to. Just wanted to show that to you. I haven't found any other place where you can put this. There probably is. I don't know where it goes, but you can just set that aside for now. Now, of course, he does have a cockpit. He is a headmaster after all. So if you open up here, and you got to be careful because if you're pushing downwards, it does sometimes dislodge and go back down on these sliders. So you can use a spudger to get in there. I'm lucky my copy is pretty solid, but I know there was an issue where people had cockpits that wouldn't stay open, and that was frustrating. You can see in there, there's a nice console and steering wheel. So go ahead and take that steering wheel, fold that upwards. And that's going to allow us to get his legs in there. So here's the headmaster. And just get the legs just barely clear. He just barely fits, and I'm trying not to scratch him. There we go. And then go ahead and take the steering wheel, put that back down, and there he is, driving him around. And that's pretty cool. Go ahead and close that up. Overall, pretty good looking. Let's go over the articulation on this guy. So the head is on a rotation joint. There's actually two rotations. There's one here at the neck, and there's one here at the head. What that allows you to do is, so you can use this joint upwards, like this. You can also open the mouth. The mouth goes all the way up to there. I don't want to push it past its point, so. But all painted in there. That looks really good. No missing teeth like we've seen on recent figures. Also, the tooth does fit in. That's really cool. They made a cutout for that, the canine tooth. But if you rotate the head on this joint and then you rotate the neck on that joint, now you can get it downwards. So you can really get some good poses with this because of the adjustability of the neck there. And I like that they did that. You do have some nice metallic red eyes as well. Continuing backwards, I already talked about the cockpit. Same joint for the arm here. Just be careful, try not to scratch the paint there. You have this double jointed elbow here, that still works. And then you have this toe that goes up to there, back to there, and it actually bends inwards, and that's to allow you to get the arms out to the side and then still have the toes flat on the ground because you have that outward movement. So that's smart thinking. Coming to the back here, you have the back legs rotate on this joint. It's just friction. You have the back leg rotates on two joints there. So you have this one up here, then you have this one down here. So you can get it kind of folded up if you wanted to. I actually think it's intended to look like that. I might not have had it right. The tail does have 3 points of articulation, one here, one here, one here, and then there's actually a rotation, which I didn't really discover until later as I was doing this review. So you can rotate the tail to the side, which is kind of cool. And for a quick size comparison, there it is next to the Transformer Island TO1B. You know, pretty big animal mode. He's taller, wider, and longer with the tail than TO1B. But fits in nicely with a masterpiece scale. So final thoughts on Lupus. Let's start with the positives. The paint is really nice to look at. It stands out on the shelf. It fits in well with other FansToys figures, and it just catches your eye. You also really like the accessories. The sword and gun are done nicely, and they just work well in both modes. The head also, I think the headmaster itself is done well. It fits well, it articulates well, it just does what it's supposed to do. On the negatives wise, the ankles are definitely an issue. The limited ankle tilt definitely limits the amount of posability, and the A stance is limited to not going too wide because of that. I would never leave him in this pose. He's a little bit unstable. He's a very heavy figure on the top because the chest is all die cast and then the feet are die cast. So he's kind of unstable in this particular pose I have him in now. If you put him in a regular A stance, he's going to be fine as long as you don't go past the length of the ankle tilt. I also don't love that you are standing on his robot mode feet, and these are painted surfaces, so you do want to be careful with these and not scratch them. That's not something I love, but so far I haven't scratched anything, so it's not an issue. It's just something to look out for given that he's standing on his painted surface there. So other than that, I recommend this figure. It's a really good looking version of Weirdwolf. I don't know if we're going to ever get another masterpiece. Now, there's a rumor going that FansToys is going to reissue this guy. Chomp was just slated for December release of this year. So who knows? If they do reissue it, that'd be great. I think it's a great time to pick it up for that price, whatever that price is, probably $250, given that's what the Chomp price is. But at the current market price of $500, upwards of $400 and $500, definitely not worth that price. I would not pay that price. So if you're looking for this guy and you're thinking about buying it, I don't recommend paying that. Just be patient and wait. And either you can find it for a lower price or they'll reissue it, hopefully. That's really it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.